Yeah, I think we kind of forget the bands we worked with, but the amount of bands and people around us at the time, that were just being backstage and being involved, and it was just fantastic. Even the sports people. Like a lot of people don't know, the Average White Band wrote the theme song for Cosmos, and that's how we got to hang out with Pele, Beckenbauer,
Is that Atlantic
in the
Records has
'70s.
some connection?
Yeah, Atlantic Records. They didn't get any of the big
Atlantic Records,
average.
yeah. Well, didn't they
Yeah,
own the Cosmos?
yeah, yeah.
But
Oh,
also
yeah.
the Rainbow. I remember in the early days being in the Rainbow, and I was working, and it was on a Virgin Records. It was the first band on Virgin Records that done a tour of America, and It was a band called Steve Hillage, and
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
we were opening up for ELO when they had that spaceship that for the first time, and I had to go to the Rainbow to meet their production guy and their tour manager. And so we turned up there, and I'm having a drink with them all and everything. And Sharon Arden was there.
Will goes
There you
well.
go. There's a name.
She looked a bit different back then. Anyway, and these guys were winding me up, and they were saying, "Mel, you've got to do the do with Sharon, otherwise you won't come on the tour." I was saying, "But we're already on the tour. It starts tomorrow." Yeah, but that's why we're here tonight, because you've got to do the do with
Take
Sharon.
one for the team.
And she was there in LA in the Rainbow, and she had a full length fox fur coat on. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, Jesus Christ. So there's no way. No way. Anyway, I was safe because this drunken guy came bursting through the people. We were sitting in that centre table, that big centre table that he had in the Rainbow. And he was abusing the Arden family, right? He was bad mouthing ELO and the management. And their tour manager just stood up, hit the guy. The guy's jaw went sideways. and he said, right? And he said to the guy, and the guy's going, "You broke my jaw, you broke my jaw." And he said, "I don't care. You'll be in here tomorrow to apologise to everybody. Otherwise, you'll get broke the other way." And the guy was. The next day, the guy turned up and apologised to everybody. But that
Yeah.
was, yeah,
Never a dull moment.
yeah, never a dull moment.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah, walking up the rainbow. I mean, they used to just walk us in. It would, no
yeah,
matter who was sitting at the tables, just move them, just sit
yeah,
us right down. Bottle of whiskey.
Mario.
Yeah,
Mario.
Mario and what was the younger guy? I used to hang out with him all the time. I can't remember his name. But I saw Mario like 10 years ago. He was just hanging
yeah.
outside.
He's always
Yeah.
standing outside.
What, they wouldn't
What's
let him
that?
in?
Yeah, they wouldn't let him in. His name wasn't on the door.
I think the first time we went to LA, we did 3 nights at the Whiskey,
Risky, yeah.
Oh,
and
whiskey, whiskey.
that was pretty awesome.
Horrible little stage, wasn't it? That was such a high
I
up.
also did,
Feet off
yeah,
the
I also
ground.
did that with the White Band.
Yeah,
Stephen Stills came on stage and
No, I'll
everyone
correct
falling
you. That was
over.
the Roxy.
Was that the Roxy? Was
That was
it?
the Roxy. I've got a little bit of a story if I can jump in.
Yeah, it was the Roxy next door.
Right next door, yeah. That was up the street. Yeah, Stephen Stills comes and gets on and just plugs his guitar into on his amp and just like went with all the knobs put on, and it was horrible. He was high as a fucking kite. I basically just walked up and unplugged him and gently tossed him off. He was totally. It was horrible. Didn't fit it. They weren't the kind of band that you could just get up and jam with. It was like they were, I don't know, not impossible, but you can't just get on and start doing freaking out. But well, I've got a little bit of a side story on that one. Solly was with us on tour, and I still lived in Playa del Rey at the time. I had a washing machine and all that, and so I was doing Solly's clothes and then take him to him at the gig that night. I mean, fucking valet service, right? and he was staying at the hotel. So I had a little. I've never been big on cars. I always had whatever would run. So I had this one car that was like a. It looked nice, but every now and then the fuel line would come off, and you'd smell the fuel, and I'd pull over, put it back on. All I had to really do was maybe tighten the fucking screw, but I never bothered. So I'm leaving my place, and I'm driving down through Marina Del Rey on my way up to deliver Solly's clothing. And I go past somebody, and the car goes, "You're on fire!" I go, "What?" I look in the mirror, I don't see anything. Another one, "You're on fire!" So I kind of suddenly start smelling burning fuel. I pulled my car over in the Marina Del Rey and just got out, and up went the flames because there was no draft. Up went the flames. And this guy comes running out of a cafe. He parked this like classic white convertible caddy on the, and I'd stopped alongside him, and all the fuel was dripping down onto the road and flowing under his car. I mean, and the police, the fire brigade are coming. He's going, "Move that thing." I said, "You get in and move it. I'm not." He managed to move his fucking caddy. The fire brigade came, put mine out. It was a whole experience. I'm just by the side of the road laughing, like, what could go wrong? I called Solly, get a payphone back then. He says, I said, "Solly, I've had a bit of an incident. The car caught fire." You think he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" He goes, "What about my washing?" I said, "Your laundry's all right, pal. You'll get it later." He was more concerned about his fucking laundry. But it was a classic. That was like, anyway, nothing to do with Hollywood, but it's kind of on the way to that gig. So by the time I got the gig that night, I was pretty wound up somehow, stimulated somehow, I'm sure, and chucked Stephen Stills off. Those blokes were all a pain. Him and that bloke with the mustache. What's his name? Clark.
My first time in New York, switching coasts. Atlantic Records had a reception for his wedding at one of the big hotels in New York, and I remember going there first night in New York with Vinegar Joe, and because we were with Atlantic Records, and we got invited along, and we went to this reception party thing, and going to the toilets, which were downstairs, big marble kind of toilets, and there was this bunch of guys with this big bag of white powder. I mean, a big bag of white powder, and they were just
to do your laundry.
They were laundry. They were sniffing it. They were just chucking it at their faces, and I'm standing there taking a piss, and I turned around, and the guy went, "Here, you want some?" And I went, I said, "Look at that. It's still wet behind that fucking ear, mate."
Well, it was no secret that he was into the marching powders, No big secret there.
Oh, God. It was like fucking one of the biggest bags I've even seen to this day. It was still one of the biggest bags I've seen. And I've seen a lot of big bags since then.
I've seen a lot of old bags.
Yeah.
I mean, those were the days you go to a party and there's a big bowl on the table. Hey,
I got dragged off to White Plains that night by a young lady that later became
pregnant.
I can't mention her name.
Fred.
Anyway, it was, and her first name was Penny. Anyway.
Oh yeah, our pal Penny. Penny.
Yeah, Mr. Grange, you remember that
States of
one?
the Bahamas.
Welcome to New York.
Are we going off subject now?
I know.
Yeah, we got.
No, it was all rock and roll connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ended up in the Bahamas with certain pennies.
Yeah, she finished up in the Bahamas with a rock star.
Yes.
Well, with the Average White Band, we were with Tiger Bray.
Tiger Bray, great sound system.
Tiger Bray and Obi Lights.
Obi Lights, yeah.
And then that's where we met Jimmy Page, who eventually took over Shoko.
Rest in peace.
And yeah,
last time I saw him was with you guys in the London.
Oh yeah.
We went to with you now. We saw Jimmy Page there.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he died.
I used to go to Dallas and visit him twice a year.
The people out there, this is Jimmy Page, the Shoko Sound and Lighting Company executive, by the way.
Yeah.
Not that guitar player guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy, you know.
No. This was a nice guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Craigsy knows all these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Jimmy was a nice guy as well, the guitar player. He's a nice guy.
You see him
There you
recently?
go
He's
now.
been honoured by some college, and he was doing a TV appearance where he was sitting up on the stage, and all the people in the audience are all like doing theses, is it? Studying rock and roll in the 70s is now like a university subject, and he's up there with his cape because he got an honorary doctorship in the occult or something. And yeah, he's answering questions, and it's like it's become now people are studying it. It's like a social phenomenon, the 70s rock and roll. I don't think our stuff will make that thesis, but you never know.
Yeah, we should. Let's go on tour. We can go to colleges. The
We
colleges
were all
would love
part of
us.
it. We were part of it.
Yeah.
It was all part of it. Yeah. That roadie culture.
If it wasn't for us, most of it wouldn't have happened. You know.
Would have happened
Well, I was
differently.
saying to
I
Matt,
think
well,
it's,
Matt knows, but I was saying last night with the Average White Band, I mean, they were so together as a band, and even when you were traveling with them, I mean, it was one of those bands you could just say, "Here's your ticket, see you at the airport." And they would
Yeah.
find the gate and all that stuff. They wouldn't get lost at the bar, like a lot of bands. Oh, I just wait for you at the bar. No, go straight to the gate. You don't have time to go to the bar. You get the gate. Where's such and such? He's at the bar. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I used to,
but
people would ask me what were they like. I said they're like a bunch of soccer supporters, but they can play because they were very.
Yeah.
There was a great team. That's what I liked about them. It was a great team spirit. We had a very tight little road crew. And everybody was in sync. Yeah, and they weren't very high maintenance
That's
as
what you
far
would
as.
say, very professional. Be professional. He'd always
They-
come down. He'd always get to the bar in good time to have a drink, to have a
Yeah, they
martini
always-
before going into the gig, before going to the sound check. So
Yeah, I remember
gotta keep it all together.
Barry Owen and I were putting away. Barry Owen and I were the other roadie. We were the two roadies. We tried having a third guy, but it slowed us down. We were just really into it, and we would be knocking back the Bacardi and Cokes and getting legless. And we had a gig somewhere in Minneapolis, I think,
He slowed you down the drinking.
just every now and then. And we slept in and missed our flight. And instead of having a 1 hour flight down to Indianapolis or whatever it was, we ended up taking all these little puddle jumpers. I've just found the itinerary. It's like 6 45-minute flights with all the announcements. We were hungover. And when we got to the gig, the band had set all the gear up, and all we had to do was kind of power it up and plug it in. But they'd done all the cases. That's the kind of guys they were. And they knew we weren't like, even though we were party animals, we were responsible. This was a one-off. We never got lectured by anybody. It was just like, hey. That's what I liked
That
about
was it. That was it. Back then, there was a lot more camaraderie
Yeah.
with the band and crew. You
Yeah.
know, you could, you
Yeah.
could fool around with the artist. You could mess around with them. You could play tricks on them. Yeah.
Plus, we'd known them for years
All that-
back in England, all that
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
But even the sound and lights crews, you had like 2 sound guys, 2 lighting guys. There was no riggers. There was no. You might have a bus driver and 2 light and 2 sound guys and 2 back line guys. It was all
well,
very.
the thing was, Granny, we had nothing to rig.
That's right.
That was
Yeah.
Just as the backdrop.
Yeah.
I love it.
We did a one-off gig in Minneapolis with the band Guess Who, and I mentioned this before. And after the gig, I was at the bar, and all the road crew for Guess Who were there. And I was like, "Well, you going upstairs with the boys?" And I was with the Average White Band. We're all at the bar matching, and they're like, "Oh no, we can't go to the party. We're not invited." And the Average White Band, and I looked at the crew and went, "What do you mean? What does that mean?" It goes, "Oh, it's the band. They don't want the road crew at their party." And we all went, "Fuck them, you're coming with us." So we went upstairs, and as soon as we walked in, the singer of the band was like, "What are you guys doing in here?" There was like 10 people at the party, right? So we all just looked at him and just looked at each other and went, "It's more interesting in the bar, bye." And just did a U-turn and went back to the bar with the road crew, But I've never understood that. I've been to a couple of bands I've been with, like, "Oh no, roadies don't come with us," But I've got to say with the Average White Band, one thing that really taught me well was teaching me how to buy wine. And that was the funniest part for me when they turned on and went, Wilco, we want to learn about wine. We want to know everything about it. Got the most expensive one, it's got to be good. Okay, okay. And, you know, I need to say, in the 80s, I opened up Wilkinson's Wines and Spirits because of all that. Remember those days?
Wilco's
I
Wines
do.
and
I opened,
Spirits.
yeah, he opened up a liquor store, Wilkinson's Wines. In fact, I went down to Mark Emery's party once with a shitload of wine, remember?
I do remember, and it's I mean, these are the sort of things that you get into once you've had some success and some money and stuff like that. You start to change your sort of things. It's like, well, focus on nice wines and the good things in life and art and stuff like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everyone sort of progressed into that as you sort of grow through through the business and get a bit of money behind you.
Well,
Well,
another
the
good
big
thing
thing
for the
is,
average
for
white
me,
man,
Savoir faire, as Monty used to say.
he got that from Pete Rudder, Sully.
Oh, right.
Then it went from savoir faire to savoir, and it ended up being just like that. Just like in a
It's true
language.
because I started to collect cat prints by this artist called Louis Wain, who was a Victorian artist that drew cats. He became very famous. Queen Victoria owned some of his paintings, but he slowly went crazy, and as he got crazy, the cats got crazy. The drawings, the paintings got crazier. And there's a movie just been released. It's called My Life with Cats, and it stars Cumberbatch as
Oh,
Dominic Cumberbatch.
Louis Wain. But I started collecting them. I'm looking at one on my wall right now. It's the first one I bought for my wife Sandy. It's called The Seesaw. And like you say, you got into art, and I used to collect these around the world. Used to find them all over the place, and I've got quite a collection of them now.
I tend,
And it's got that off the bog wall in Hartlepool toilets in the railway station.
I tend to buy railway number plates.
That's called vandalism. Vandalism.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
still a
Come in,
building.
number 51. The time is up.
Your time
Yeah.
is up.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
never wasted money on fancy stuff, but yes,
No,
good to have an
no,
interest.
no.
You have
No,
to have an
you've got
interest
railway
outside of the
tickets.
business.
Railway tickets. Sit on a train.
Hey, Mr. Grinch has made some money doing his little collection. I remember a piece you bought
Oh,
off
but
an electric train, wasn't it?
It's a California story. It qualifies. This is a bit
Yeah,
of
there you go. I
yeah.
agree.
Well, there's
Yeah.
outside of LA. There's a place called the Santa Paula Valley. It's about an hour's drive, and it's very much like what California always was. All orange groves. It's still a farming area, so it's a really nice day out. They happen to have a preserve railway there, and across the street from this preserve railway. And they use this in a lot of movies, Western the movies. They have the train goes up and down, gets robbed, and what have you. But across the street is a little junk shop, and I would go in there, and he'd have like the occasional English train book, postcard or something, whatever. So I go there this one day. I didn't see anything particular, and as I'm leaving, I stubbed my toe on a piece of metal. And I looked down, and I could just see the tiniest bit of the corner, but I knew right away what it was. There's like a beading around this plate. It was a nameplate of a diesel locomotive from England. And I looked at it and I thought, well, what's that doing here? Anyway, I looked at it, but that's a diesel. I don't really want it. And in the end, the guy said they want $180, $150 cash. I said, it's probably worth more than that, but I said, well, I'll take it off your hands. Cut a long story short, I took it to England and they sold it at an auction in Sheffield for £6,600. I paid $150. Hey! So that was.
So
And
what was the point?
I went to the auction. I donated some of the money to a preservation locomotive society and drank the
You
rest.
fucking what?
Drank the rest. And then I went to the same. I went to the same junk shop about a year afterwards, and I found another plate, very like similar to this weird European-looking thing, for $75, and sold that for 800 quid. So I picked these things up. They're just
And you know what, guys? He hasn't bought us a pint yet. The
At
twat.
walls when he happens to walk in.
Hey, California, we're getting off rock and roll a little bit, but hey, you have to. My point is, you have to have an interest outside of the business, otherwise it's just boring, isn't it? Gig,
Yeah,
hotel,
do.
shag, drink, shag, booze, drink, coke, gig, hotel, plane,
Well,
shag. I mean,
yeah,
how boring is that?
yeah. What's wrong with
And what's wrong with that?
yeah,
that's right.